Yo, Guido coming at you with a review, this time with the Tier 8, the new Yo tank at Tier 8, the M3Y. You can see it here in my garage. Looking like a fairly standard tank, really. Center-mounted hull or turret on the hull right there. Some angulation on the front. A bit of a pike nose for a US tank. Kind of interesting. Quite a strong turret, egg-shaped more or less. Gets a bit of a flat plate. We'll talk about that. No tumor. Holy macaroni, no tumor. You know, I watched a video on the Yo tanks, and most of them had a big tumor on the top. I think for some of the upper tiers, Wargaming actually kind of smoothed the tumor off the top of some of the higher tier tanks, which it looked like a good number of them if you watch some of the videos out there from the design, because these are all kind of fantasy design. Yo Company, I want to say, put out 7 or so proposals for tanks, and a lot of them had that big, you know, machine gun turret, a chapeau going on the top of their cranium there. Well, for the Tier 8 here, at least on the top turret, they've kind of wickered that down just to a smaller hatch, and that is much appreciated because it makes the turret work in this game a lot better. So here she is, the Tier 8. Look at the details real quick. Just another one of the HL Yo designs. Turret with a small frontal projection, a gun mantlet, yada yada. No prototypes were built, so I don't think any of the Yo tanks had any real prototypes built. This one happens to be the Tier 8 though, so we'll take a look at tech tree considerations, a 3D model, a comparison amongst its peers, my stats, my setup, and some examples of gameplay. I've moved on to the 9. I just finished it. It was a fairly comfortable grind. I didn't do as well as I thought I might. I know a lot of people are doing really well with the tank, and this tank has 2 viable guns. And I would have told you the higher alpha one was better, because generally they are in the game, but I ended up on the lower alpha, higher pen gun, and it was just more comfortable. We'll talk about that as we go. I've got a replay from each gun for you to check out, and you can make your own decision there. Giving up alpha at Tier 8 is hard to do on a Tier 8 heavy tank. You're talking going from 320 to 240, and 240 is medium alpha kind of stuff. But to some extent, because its rate of fire is quite high, it makes up for it. But that's going to be a to-taste thing. Let's move on to tech tree considerations for the M3Y Yo tank, Tier 8 American Heavy. All right, this has actually been fairly easy in terms of tech tree discussions, because from the Pollack, leaving from the T1 Heavy, as I've noted in the other 2 reviews of the Pollack and the M2Y, you're going from 6 crew members on the T1 down to 4 crew members for the rest of this line, and the radio operator stays on the commander, which is nice. So moving crew to crew or crew from tank to tank is not a problem. I took the same crew, a very good crew, 4-skill crew working on their 5th, through the Pollack M2 and the M3, and they're now on their way. You might have noticed there was a crew in the M3Y. I'm going to try to build another one for the Pollack line, for the Yo tank line, and I have kind of coalesced that around old Arnold there from Christmas. So that's what's going to be in this moving forward, in addition to that, jumping into the M4, the Mivy, which is the premium. We'll talk about that tank a little bit as we go as well. So when we look at the M3, again, very streamlined with the newer lines that Wargaming comes out with. There's not, you know, there's rarely 2 engines and 2 tracks or 3 radios or whatever. So you're only going to have to unlock a track, a engine, and a radio. Then you're going to have 2 guns. 2 guns. The 90mm comes first, then a turret. You can probably ignore the experience on the 105 if you just want to stay away from it and move on to the Tier 10. You really can. And you're not losing much of anything. As a matter of fact, and we'll talk about it as we go, but let's just touch on it right now. The 90mm is rocking 223 standard pin and 290 heat pin. That's actually pretty darn good at Tier 8, but you're looking at a 240 alpha. Still, DPM at 2250. If we come over here to the 105, you're losing DPM, interesting, and pen, not good, but you're getting 320 alpha. The trade-off is not quite good enough, in my opinion, to stick with the 105, though I did play about 2/3 of my games with it. It wasn't terrible, but you spent a lot of time pressing 2, because 208 is down at preferential tank pen. It's awful. That's terrible for a heavy tank. Just atrocious. Really interesting decision on Wargaming's part. Generally, higher alpha has a lower DPM, but also with the lower penetration and significantly badly lower penetration, this gun is I'm almost going to recommend it as a no-go. Plus, its dispersion sucks at 0.39. There's not a lot going for it, guys. I mean, if it did 400 and maybe it was another second or so reload, you might have something going on. But 320 is kind of anemic, really, at tier 8 for a heavy. And with those two pen values, it's ugly. Plus the dispersion. It's not a great gun, guys. It really isn't. I'll show you, like I said, we'll show you examples of two. But that's what you got going on for the tech tree. Let's look at the 3D model. All right, we have a pretty solid model in terms of armor on this tank. It's not bad at all. The turret is quite strong. You can see effective values, especially as you get out to the edge. You get the auto bounce stuff going on. But around the mantlet, 270, 290, even hitting 300s in some places over here. It does have, I wouldn't call it a tumor necessarily, but it does have a hatch that's penetrable, and it's significant, but it's not the giant tumor that the Tier 7 had and some of the other American tanks are known for, so that's nice. It is flat-plated when you get to the side. Anytime you turn your turret a little bit, unlike the saucer-shaped Russian tanks, you're presenting a much worse profile, but straight on, it's actually quite bouncy. The hull is pretty good. 220 effective right here, and 177 impacted armor, so it's quite thick. A little bit of a pike nose rounded kind of thing going on. The lower plate's not amazing right there. And in a hold down, look down, you got some really good bouncy capability off of the hull. So it is a decently armored tank. Remember, you're seeing 10s, and to some extent, 10s are going to press 2, and they're going to lull pin your 300. Right, especially some of the TDs, but a significant turret, and it will work for you. I did have some issues with the top on occasion, especially if they get a little bit of look down. You can have problems there, and of course that is something that you're going to collect shots on, the little tumor right there. But in terms of an all-round well-armored, kind of standard well-armored heavy tank at tier 8, this thing is pretty decent, and the results show that the armor holds up pretty good. As far as armor holds up on World of Tanks, right? All the bazillion caveats. It is a tier 8. It does see 9s and 10s. All of those things you got to take into account. But overall, a fairly comfortable and useful armor profile. And it actually side scrapes okay as well. What do we got total here? We've got 88 millimeters or so of impacted armor, 89 millimeters. So not bad, actually, on the side either for side scraping. All right, let's move on to... what's next, my friends? We're going to go to a comparison. All right, I got a lot of tanks in the comparison here. There are a lot of tier 8s, and I am primarily going with the tech tree. I don't think I mentioned it in the last few videos, but basically this is a fully upgraded tank with no field mods and no equipment and no crew. 100% crew, but no crew bonuses for each one of these tanks. So you're getting the base tank, but you are getting 100% crew with the little minor bonus the commander 100% gives to the crew. Also, too, in addition to, over on the end, we've got another M3Y, and that one is set up with the larger gun. So we'll talk about that as we go. And I chucked the M4Y just for giggles on the end. If I can remember, we're going to actually talk about the difference between it and the M3Y, because I think we have a situation here, to be quite honest, where there's an argument to be made that the M3Y is better than the premium. Your results may vary, but we'll get to that. Here's the M3Y with the 240 gun. It is what I ended up with at the end. Firepower-wise, you can see that it's up there, but not quite as high as some of these other tanks. Again, this is Wargaming's number, but I like to kind of reference it because it's what they think is going on, which is sometimes humorous, actually. Average damage at 240, that's low, right? So remember the 320 if you're running the bigger gun. And that is, I mean, holy cow, that's even lower than a Carnarvon. And a Carnarvon isn't exactly known for punching people in the face, is it? 40 lower, that is not much. Pen's nice, 223. Still, Tiger at 225, IS-3 at 225 with a standard round. Remember, though, you're punching at 290 with a heat round on the 240 Alpha. Over on the 105, on the 320 Alpha, you're only punching at like 245 with an APCR round. That's the big difference there. Rate of fire turns out to be the highest with the low Alpha gun amongst them, with a 6 second, and mine's in the 5s with my crew, the way it's set up in equipment. That's going to get you up to 2,347 DPM, which is starting to sound a little bit like a Carnarvon, which is known for being able to spit rounds down range. So it is nice and high with the low gun and right in the middle with the 320 Alpha gun. But let's take a look at the aiming and whatnot, because you're talking about 2.01, which is really quite fast. It's right there with the T32, and a 0.35 dispersion with the small Alpha gun. Very comfortable. And I want to say the way I had mine set up was around 0.32 or so once I put the small Alpha gun, and now I was hitting stuff I was aiming at. I was not doing that with the 320 Alpha 0.37 dispersion. It was just whiffing shots I needed it to hit. And, you know, 320 Alpha and an okayish DPM coupled with mediocre to bad pen, and that was just a recipe for disaster in a lot of cases when I was running the larger Alpha gun. It just was. Very nice -10 gun depression on all of that. Very good right there. Hit points are okay at 1440, kind of on the low end really amongst other heavy tanks. And then the armor. So the armor is good. 178 is quite thick for whole armor. I mean, we're talking Tiger 2 levels, but not all squared off. So a little bit more usable. The turret is at 279, which is really nice. Not quite T32 nice. You know, a T32 is going to start shrugging off some of the big TDs on occasion. You're probably not going to do that as much with the M3Y unless you catch them on an auto bounce angle near the edge of the turret or some such thing like that. But it's good. Not amazing, but good. Come down here to mobility, and it's sprightly enough at 40, faster than most of these guys. I felt its mobility was pretty good. See, its specific power is at 14.88, which is near the top of all of these. You know, if you think about the Tiger and how sluggish it is at 9.87, that's why it just has a hard time getting out of its own way. But with a 40 top end and a 15 reverse, which is quite nice, it actually does well. Now, this is one of the big advantages the M4Y has over the M3Y, is it is more mobile at 45 with an 18 reverse. Really good specific power, so it gets up and goes, and its traverse speed is quite nice. Plus, the armor is more or less the same armor, 279 and 178. Even though the turret is a completely different design, the numbers come out the same for game balance purposes right there. You know, I also threw things like the AMX 65T, just so you could have an example of a terrible tank. 1,814, you know, on its DPM. Holy cow, that is atrocious. Although it is hitting you for 400, so it's near the top with a 218 pin. So what's the point of all that? M3Y is a pretty solid tier 8 heavy tank. Won't worry too much about concealment. It's a heavy tank. It's got 390 on the view range. I don't know why it has 10 less than the T32, but it does. And it has 10 more than the M4Y. Very strange. And the signal range, oh my gosh, the signal range, folks. Nobody cares. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That is a stat that is irrelevant at tier 8. It is not relevant. Really quickly, let's just kind of compare the 3Y to the 4Y. And we'll just do it with a large gun just for giggles. 320 to 360, you are getting a more bang for your buck off of the M4Y. It is more sprightly. The gun traverse, the whole traverse, and the speed and everything, and the specific power gets it up and going. Same depression, but a little bit worse gun handling. Aim time of 2.4 and a 0.38, which is actually one worse than the high alpha gun on the M3Y and considerably worse than the low alpha gun on the M3Y, although its average DPM is not great. It's lower than both of the Tech Tree tanks. Very interesting, isn't it? Little 50 more hit points. Armor we discussed, it's basically the same armor profile, although it's shaped a little different. I don't know if the whole is exactly the same, but it's very similar. And then it's just faster. So I found that very interesting, that the premium is not head and shoulders above the Tech Tree. And frankly, if I was to pick one, I would pick the M3Y with the low alpha gun. Why? One really critical reason is this thing has a tumor. The M4Y's got the big tumor. There's a much smaller hatch on the M3Y. I just think it's. I think. Let me know what you think down below. But I think it's a better tank overall. I really do. All right. So there you go. What do you have? Solidly armored tank. You have two viable guns. I prefer the lower alpha one with more pen. It was just more comfortable. Good gun depression. Usable turret and hold down spots and hold down fights. Decent enough accuracy, especially with the small alpha gun, that you can pick apart weak spots. Enough pen at 290 to do so against all the things that you face, more or less, other than the most heavily armored turrets that you're probably not going to go through anyway with most of anything. And good enough mobility to get around. Solid overall tank. All right, let's take a look at my stats. All right, took me 56 battles to get to the tier 9. That's from unlocking all of the modules with pre-experience and then grinding the tank out. To be honest, I don't remember if I had any blueprints. Sometimes you just get random ones and you can't help but use them. They're already set in there. I think the tier 9's already been brought down some experience because I, somewhere along the way, got a blueprint for it recently. 52% win rate, above 1,000 average XP. I would say this is about a 55% win rate, maybe up to 60, somewhere in between there for me. Once I get going, I was doing a lot better when I put the smaller gun on. I did struggle for a while with the larger gun and running at 48, 49%. Low sample size at 56. Damage ratio is a bit low at 1.31. Destruction's good at 2.03. And there's that armor use at 0.64. I would love to see the survival get above 40,000. That's a little low, but it does speak to only a 51.79% win rate in there. But the armor keeps you around. That is 0.5 is good situational armor working up towards being reliable. I wouldn't say it's 100% reliable. The turret's pretty good. The rest of it, not so much. There are a couple weak spots they can pick at, so you're going to end up with a 0.64. And it's a tier 8, so it's really hard to get much above situational armor in a tier 8 unless you're talking about something like a 100-01, that kind of stuff. The DPG is okay-ish at 1775. Just real quick, my Renegade, 2259. So clearly, I do a lot better job in the Renegade. That is a premium, and it is overpowered for a premium, yada yada. Jump down here real quick to the Mivy, which I only have 15 battles in, but I am managing a little bit more damage per game right there. So it's a little bit of a different play style to run a small gun on an armored tank. They don't necessarily match, right? It's got good enough armor to be up there and dueling, but it's only got the little pew-pew gun on it. But there are some things it can do, and I know there's guys that have been in, watch me play in my chat on Twitch, and things like locking guys down with a 5-second reload. Tank can do it. That's more of a medium kind of thing. You do have some armor. I did find myself having success on occasion running with mediums with it. While it's not super zippy, it's fast enough to get there, and now you're bringing that kind of armor along with you. A little bit of the brute force to bully mediums. Problem with gameplay like that is it draws a heavy tank out of the heavy tank areas, and that may or may not be a great idea, so take that with a grain of salt, but it is a possibility with this tank. 470 average assistance, and you can see the rest of the numbers right there. So I did okay. I think I can probably bring that win rate up considerably, at least to 55, maybe near 60. But I have to tell you, 240 is low for an alpha for a heavy tank, and you just lose a lot of shutdown capability and fear factor with a gun like that. And it's a little bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a little bit of a one-trick pony at that point, right? It makes you feel like you're being too clever by half. Still, I liked it better than the higher alpha gun. All right, let's take a look at my setup. This is not the crew I ran, as I have done for the last 3 reviews on the tier 6 and 7 or the last 2, and now this is the 3rd. It was a 4-skill crew working on their 5th, the reward crew from Christmas. I have recently switched over, so this is not nearly as good a crew, but we do have Arnold in there. We'll have to see how Arnold can do with the M3Y. I was running vents in the bonus slot, a vert stab, and a rammer. However, that did swap around. I was initially running hardening, vents, and a rammer. I think I even messed around with an IA at one point. I really did a lot of changing up on this tank. And as I said, 2/3 of those battles were with the higher alpha gun. I'm now running the lower alpha gun. So a little bit all over the place in terms of that. This is a pretty bog standard setup. You certainly could go with hardening, especially in the bonus slot, since that's where it gets a bonus. I'm running the vents because vents get a bonus no matter what slot they're in, as long as it's a bonus slot. Doesn't matter what kind it is. You see the little doodads right there, says so. So you could run hardening. You could go with IA. IA is probably more appropriate to the higher alpha gun to bring down the dispersion to something useful right there. But I think this is a fairly standard setup that anybody could really run with and do okay with the tank. I am running a bunch of heat at 15. I just got tired of not pinning stuff. But you have plenty of regular APCR at 223, which is pretty nice. Right there, so that'll work out. And then I've got two large kits and an automatic fire extinguisher. I didn't do try-hard, so I'm not running food, I'm not running purple equipment. All of that stuff, as always, will make the tank perform a little bit better right there. As a matter of fact, this tank is probably good enough that if you dumped some purple and light purple or whatever bounty equipment are called, improved or bounty equipment on it, you could, and ran some food, you could really turn this into a bit of a monster. So it would certainly compete in pubs anyway. It would compete at fairly high level. The experience required for Ace Mastery is indicating just that to a large extent. So it is being used to good effect. All right, let's jump into a couple examples of gameplay. First example is on Himmelsdorf. It's actually Himmelsdorf. I decided to try out the turret, see what this thing can do. This is fairly early in my career. I am running the 320 Alpha on this gun, so you get a little bit of an idea of how that thing operates. The T-44 is absolutely out of control. He's zinging in here. I'm going to go up to this next rubble pile, and we'll start playing turret games. I have automatically gone to gold, because I know I'm going to be facing this kind of thing. So I actually hit him, just didn't penetrate the armor or hit what I wanted. Reload's not bad, so we're letting her zoom in, zoom, 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 and he breaks my vision. So we'll go ahead and just no, we won't pin him. Showed a green indicator, but it's probably right on the limit, plus there's some angulation going on. I think this one actually pins, though. There we go, but he gets a pin on me, and it looks like he probably went right through my turret, although there's another shot right there, so probably that was a pin, and that was an HE shot. Is that what somebody hit me with? I should have probably looked at that. Hold on, let's find out. Let's find out. Just for edification. What do we got? We don't have any hits so far. Alright, so somebody hits us first. There we go. The Renegade thumped us. And should be just a little bit of a ding if there's anything. And that may... Oh, wow. Did he go right into that? He sure did. Boy, that's why my vision slit went out. Man, he just broke her down. Look at that. Okay, there we go. That's nice. So we'll come in here and we'll shoot this guy. And he doesn't hit me. Alright. So it looks like that shot that the WZ takes is going to go, hello, how about my high pen heat shot and your supposed armor that Guido just said was so good. Biff. Oh boy. Alright, so right through the old turret face. He's really relying on his armor, but it ain't going to work for him. We sneak that right above the Renegade, and now we'll just start pushing in. I like that we're getting aggressive here. That's nice. Try to sneak one onto the hatch, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So T-44 is in there keeping him busy. Let's go. I don't know why the other M3Y just doesn't. There he goes. He's finally figured it out. We'll come in here and start working over this Renegade if we can. Decent mobility. I'm actually faster than this other guy here. Better crew maybe, or brothers in arms, or who knows what. That guy's going to go find his hidey hole, and then there's a T-92 back there. He wants to side scrape. I'm thinking, okay, dude, can we just both go around and get... No, whatever, just let me by. I'll take the hit. I don't care. Let's just go do this. Oh, look at that. We got a bounce. He must have hit my turret or something. Poor guy. I am taking a bit of a chance of getting shot in the back by somebody leaning over here. Right now I'm okay, as long as I don't back up too much. So he gets a shot into me. We hit him. The other M3Y is, I don't know what. Just look at this guy. Goodness. Oh, he's shooting someone way back there. He's poking at the T-92, even though we really need to get rid of this Renegade. That's good job. There's the tracks, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that. I had been tracked. Oh, Guido was angry. I guess I was a little miffed at that guy. Not really sure what he was doing, but we're going to head back this way. Oh, a little saltiness, a little toxicity. Excellent. Wasn't he, though, really, at the end of the day? Couldn't he have just pushed in with me and got rid of the Renegade, and we'd all been happier? I don't know. All right, so this guy, I think I actually get another pin from heat into the turret. So let's just stop here. I'm pretty sure he's going to pin me. But what do we got? Stop it, game. Please stop. Oh my gosh. Whew. Alright. So, nothing else. Looks like the Renegade hit me in the side enough. So, let's see where this guy ends up pinning me. I'm pretty sure he does. We stopped to get our shot. That one just missed. I got a crit, no damage. 234-3 has a fairly long reload, so let's just aim and we'll just hit this guy. It'll be great. There we go. Got him. 312. A low roll action. Oh, 390. He went right into the hatch, didn't he? Oh, yeah. Yep. Little pinpoint T-34 3-shot right into the old hatch. See how awesome that turret armor is I was talking about and playing up just a little while ago? Oh, man. All right, so we get a shot on that guy. We're up to 1570. Here comes the T-34-3. I'm thinking, oh, please don't hit my hatch again. I actually zoomed in just to say, okay, am I really hiding the hatch, or is he seeing just a couple pixels? Now I'm tucking up here, a little bit worried. IS-5's coming at me. Oh, geez, we got all kinds of situations developing here. I could use a little help from the guys that are, I don't know why they're wandering on the middle, but I guess it's time to cap. You know how it goes. You know how it is. Shoot this guy coming in. There we go. Somebody else gets a piece of him. That's very nice. Down goes the 34-3. That's good. See if we can take a shot on this guy. We'll bounce off of him. And I think he just nukes me right here. Like, yeah, there we go. We got one more shot. Oh, no, actually, I think I beat this dude. Somebody comes around behind him. So we're doing a little face hugging. We'll see if we can get into his hatch up here. There we go. That worked. Trying to use the gun barrel, and somebody else ends up killing that guy off, so that works out very nicely. And then we got the train coming in. A couple guys on the cap back there. 2,851 damage. Probably should have snapped that shot at that T-92. This looked a little dicey for a while, and I'm now recalling this game because we get these guys surrounded, but they have pretty decent hit points. And if they're able to take some of our near-deads down, we're going to be in trouble. If I sneak one into that guy, brings us up to 3,169. Our IS-3A just goes in. Says I have all kinds of hit points. A little bit worried about the IS-6B. I wanted to follow up and take down the Caliban, but the I-6B is starting to make his presence known over here. We get a bounce off his upper plate, no surprise. All we have left is regular AP at 208 pen. That's going to be a no-go for the most part into the top plate of the IS-6. Just looking for maybe a hatch shot or something here. But I know I'm a juicy target. Somehow the Caliban's still alive. Can't figure that one out. Finally he dies. The IS-6B seems to be busy enough with the ISU wanting to kill him that I'm able to sneak those side shots into him. Down he goes, and the Mivy dies. The other M3 dies. And we got 3,437. That was about the best result with the large gun that I got in the game. Normally I go up the hill on Himmelsdorf, but I wanted to test out the turret. As you can see, it was questionable, wasn't it? Just pressing 2 in high heat, or people who are able to snipe your hatch from long range. That was an interesting pin right there. I would have said that was almost impossible to pin, but what do I know? He went right through it. All right. Fantastic. Let's go on to the second example. All right, second example, platooned with Pilgrim here. We've already lost 3 tanks. How does that happen? We're not even 5 seconds into the game. Pilgrim and I, and both in these decently armored tanks, we're coming up here, will be a hold down a little bit here. I'm running the small gun now, folks, so you can see that the heat round there is at 290 penetration, but again, it is a heat round. Let's see if we can get a shot on this guy. That went into a rock, so it's never going to pin. And Pilgrim looking for a shot. I'm going to zoom in on this guy. You know, we're kind of waiting for this dude. Not really sure why Pilgrim... I'm pretty sure he's got his gun online. But every time I got zoomed in here, all of a sudden I got a piece of Mivy on my left side moving up. This. Alright. Put a shot into him. There we go. Just keep on pushing in here. cut off my platoon mate. Terrible. I think I eat an S1 shot here. Yeah. The Sturv S1 just times that nicely. Now we're going to come up here and we're going to start using those high pen guns and decent armor and see what we can do. So let's try to sneak a shot on this guy as he's backing up. There we go. Oop, didn't bounce that, did I? So I eat a big one. And I see the Lurva down there. And this is the difference with this smaller gun. It just is able to do those snaps a lot more comfortably. Works out a lot nicer. Now we got this dude, so we'll just put a little shot into him. Bounce the WT. I mean, that would have been the end of the road right there, right? 750 alpha, more than likely, with only 690 hit points. More than likely, I'm taken out of the game. So the armor held up there. That's what you get with the situational when you're starting to talk about your 0.5, 0.61 armor use efficiency. Those are the kind of bounces you're getting. On the one hand, it could have easily gone badly, but on the other, it's just enough armor to make that work. So we need to get rid of this Basante. He's kind of taking shots. Down he goes. I just didn't want to walk out and give him... Oh, there we go. So I got hit by the 8.8 from behind. That blows my mind. He's hiding down there. This is quite a long game. It takes a while, as I recall. Yeah, this is the one with the bat chat. It takes a while to track these guys all down. RHM fires. I know he's got the 750 alpha gun. That's a relatively long reload, so I should be able to make it around the corner, punish him once, and then back on out. Let somebody else take the extra shots and get rid of him. There we go. And now we're going to go work on the Lurva. And between Pilgrim's gun and mine, Pilgrim's done a nice job with his hit points. Got all of them. So we're going to just start coming out. I don't like the sideways thing, but it's what we have for the moment. I'm going to keep moving a little bit outside of Pilgrim just so I can sort of square up my armor here a little better. It's not perfect. He's busy shooting who he's shooting, so we're just sort of... Oh, when I bounce the kill shot off of Pilgrim, but the T-26E4 cleans her up. And now we're talking. All right, well, do we need to go back? It's kind of looking like we do. I don't really want to push up into the open, up on this flat area up here with these guys. We still have situations on the other side, and really the center is what I'd like to clean up, because when you start getting up where the Skoda is and trying to work this promontory here with guys owning the middle, purple guys owning the middle and having spotters, it's just a bad thing. So old Krieger von somebody is over here, and this is a fairly even looking game. So I'm going to hang out here for a bit, see if the 8.8 makes himself available. The Baraska is the other one. I'd really love to get rid of him. He's got good camo and good vision. Quite dangerous. He doesn't have a lot of hit points. Yeah, actually there's two of them, so we want to get rid of both of those. Plus the 12T. So those are kind of the priority if I have an opportunity. I want to try to get rid of those guys. Now this is a RNG all the way / dispersion shot. I was a little bit of jerk when I fired it, just randomly went where I needed it to. So if that Baraska is watching this, he's probably very irritated right now. I was going to go back, but then the prototype and the 110 are kind of holding that corner, so I don't feel like there's any shots there. Pretty soon, though, we're going to start discussing, and I'll say, you know, I think we need to get to the middle. So one of us needs to go to the middle. You hang out here, and I'll head that way. I thought he was going to come around the corner, but he didn't. So as soon as the shots dry up here, and it looks like that 8.8 wants to just lock himself down. Took a quick peek. He's behind the rock, so I can't hit him. Pretty quickly here, I realize I'm going to have to go to the middle and make something happen. The 110 is on good hit points. Not a very good player. He just sort of hangs out there for a very long time. I'm not really sure why he's right there. I can't... Unless, I don't know, maybe he was worried about being shot from by the 8.8 in the middle or something, but it's a weird... I don't know if I've ever really seen anybody there. It's possible he's trying to proxy light the TS5 and let people know if they're coming that way, but the utility of that seems limited to me. I'm going to come all the way around. I do like the relative mobility of this tank. I'm doing 37, 38, touching on 40 when I get onto the flat ground. It's got a decent enough specific power to go up the hill at an okay rate. So it is a heavy tank that can get around the map in a decent manner. Not amazing, but decent. I considered going off the edge right there, but we'll just take the more careful way and not lose any hit points for being a randomly stupid person, I was a bit worried about the bat chat. If he was posted up about where he's shown, if I go too far out into the middle here, he can see me, and I don't want to do that. As a matter of fact, he can probably see me. Well, he'd certainly see me if he was anywhere north of his position, but he doesn't seem to be up in there at all. If he is, he's not in the right spot to see what I just did, which is good. That means I'm going to be able to come around here and kind of surprise this Panther 8.8. I'm down to only 4 heat shells, which is, it's good to have them because the Panther's turret is not amazing, but it's pretty good. So I should be able to pretty much lull pin it as long as I don't go right into the mantlet here with my heat. Bit of a rush shot, so that's what I've done. Probably right into the mantlet. I need to aim to the side. There we go. Thank goodness this guy just sort of sits there. Now, he fires about as fast, if not slightly faster than I do, if he's got that long, or actually it's the 8.8, so he definitely does. So he's taking his shots, he's just not getting into the weak spot, and his turret's not able to handle the heat that I had, and then the regular APCR round is still rolling at him with 223. I maybe don't have that much luck with the standard round on the large gun, and potentially bouncing maybe even some of the gold ammo on the large alpha gun. So now I'm going to go up here and take the middle. They are pretty TD heavy, so just walking into them is not a great idea. We really need to get rid of the Batchat 12T would be fantastic to get rid of, and the Barras. So we find the Barras, he's sort of messing around with the prototype. I'm going to come over here first and take a look. We have a couple tanks trying to push up onto their cap, but you see the Sturv F1 down there. I mean, 2 Sturvs bushed up, they can make people go away really quickly. I think a little better of that. I don't really want to just get out in the open there. There's no wall right there in front of me. There's a bush, which makes it harder to see you, but there's nothing protecting those TDs back there from shooting you right into the hole. Come around here and take a look. Trying to see if I can see that Sturv, but I can't. One of them dies. So that was good. He got lit. TS5 starts messing around. He's actually pushed in. Because the prototype went where he went, it's just the 110 sitting there, and so far the TS5 hasn't made a move. Pilgrim's actually headed back that way to see what he can do about that whole situation. Once again, I'm going to be careful on the poke. That was a little dangerous, as a matter of fact. There you go. I'm glad I didn't sit there. So if you're going to do something like that, kind of go out just a bit and come back. Look at the line of sight that you think they might catch you on. Take a quick peek and get back and see if you get lit. If you get lit, then all right, now I know. I don't want to just drive out in front of that mess. Prototype's kind of getting bullied by this Barask, and I was starting to think, well, the Barask is going to get him. Did not get proxy lit there, which surprised me a little bit. I see the Scorpion there. He dies. All right, good. Thinking about headed back over here and see if I can't help these guys see something. And then I sort of changed my mind. You know what? Because Pilgrim was talking about pushing into the TS5. Then I see the Barask. He gets the prototype, which is what I was worried about. Now, I did not know this was possible. I'm glad I tried it. First I see this dude, so we're going to hit him once. There we go. The Barask is down here. The 110's coming in, so now we're starting to get this guy sandwiched. And I got the auto aim on this guy, and he just goes far enough out that I got the angle, and we end up killing that guy with an auto aim. Minus 10 gun depression, guys. It is quite helpful at times. We're up to 3,000 damage, and now we're starting to make this thing happen. I really would like to get rid of this Batchat. He's really the X factor for that team now. A quick peek. Sort of broke my own rule right there. I know I exposed myself a little more than I wanted to. T-56 Skoda died. We got 3 guys going back to the corner. Looking like they want to try to find the TS5. Pilgrim and I are talking about this as we go. Just trying to see if maybe there's someone here. This is another way to do a little bit of scouting. You're going to lower your camo by doing that, but sometimes by taking a shot at something and lowering your camo, you can then get lit and find out if someone's close enough to see you. Just one of those things. So this is a good spot for this kind of push because you have shots into their back over here. So it's right through these two buildings. I'm just waiting for this dude to back out. We get rid of him. Now I've got the 110 who's in trouble. This is the low alpha gun, bummer, 238, right? So that's what you lose with the low alpha gun. Your shutdown potential is so much less. I left that guy on 6 hit points, but he got dead anyway. The two 110s killed each other. Two low hit point 110s. 3,383 damage. Probably have this more or less wrapped up. There's the Sturv. Wanted to get over here before he killed off bounced the first shot before he killed off the super. One shot into him. Oh, right over. Not enough lead really, but it also went a little bit high. There we go. Tracked him at least. Now I'm taking hits from the 12T. So I'm going to back up a little bit, try to get this building between me and the 12T. There we go. Make it a little harder so he's not shooting right into the side of my tank. We're able to shut down the old Sturv S1 that gets us to 4,077 damage, 306 assists. Well, we got 5 kills. I need one more for Ace. I don't think I got it, actually. I don't remember who kills the light tank. Oh, it's Pilgrim. Yeah, we're just going to speed this up because Scorpion gets in there, and I think he dies to him. They're kind of, where is this guy? Where is this guy? Oh, okay. He was over there. Yeah, this is where I lost my... Oh, 260. No shutdown, right? No shutdown capability. Pilgrim works his way over there. That guy tries to hide. 4,337. I was waiting for Pilgrim's kill shot. Actually, oh, yeah, I missed it. I was actually discussing that. I'm just far enough out in terms of vision that he was probably going to get by me without me seeing him. That's exactly what happened right there. Pilgrim shuts down the last guy, and we end up with a win. There you go, small gun. Let's wrap it up. All right, what's the final verdict on the M3Y Yo tank, Tier 8 US Yo tank with the new track mechanic that I didn't really see much of actually in the examples I gave you, but I did see a bit of it while I played. And much like I talked about on the Tier 7, it was more a case of noticing why was I moving so slow, and then realizing, ooh, I shouldn't be moving at all. That's actually pretty cool. And I think it's important and it can help you out, but it's not a game changer. So that's all I'll say about the new mechanic right there. This tank is a solid Tier 8 tank. It has 2 viable guns. I believe the smaller gun is more viable. It's a little bit unfortunate because it hurts it in some ways in being a heavy tank. But it has the armor and the profile to do heavy tank stuff. It just really doesn't have the gun to be that kind of brawling heavy tank. So that sort of relegates it to this niche Pew Pew 240 lockdown tank with armor, which is kind of weird and isn't really heavy tank-esque. So if you like that kind of gameplay, or you can work around those kind of limitations, then it may be a good tank for you. It is good. I will say it is above average. I wouldn't say it's well above average, but in terms of tech tree Tier 8 tanks, it is definitely above average. And it does, I think, compare favorably to a lot of the premiums. Not the real top end ones, things like the Renegade or the Skoda T56, but not bad actually. Usable armor profile, strong in terms of thickness, decent mobility, and just kind of some weird decisions with the gun. I discussed it a little bit on balanced decisions that Wargaming made based on the new mechanic, trying to make sure that it wasn't overpowered. Once again, they did not put these tanks into common test. I don't know, is common test the end-all be-all and the only way you get a balanced tank is common test? Well, I mean, it helps, I think, a little bit. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to get a balanced tank. But these did start off, in my opinion, a little bit weak. A little bit weak. And this one's the closest that I've played so far of the 3 that's good. It just has some weird drawbacks that I think were balanced decisions based on the new mechanic that sort of keep it down. I don't know. Maybe if this thing was a 320 Alpha with the accuracy that the lower alpha gun has, it might be a little too good potentially. So it would probably still need, I think that the 320 alpha gun needs a little help on the gun handling because it's very anemic. I think specifically on its penetration, which is atrocious. It definitely needs help there. But if you did too much, this would become a really good tank pretty quickly because it does some of the stuff the T-32 does, but it has fewer of the disadvantages. Good turret, a little bit more maneuverability, good -10 depression, all that stuff. But that T-30 is obviously crippled by that penetration, which has always been its big problem. The 320 alpha gun is the same for this tank, but you put that 240 on, you start to fix some of those problems, but now you're dealing with 240 alpha in a heavy tank, and that gets weird, even with a high DPM. I know there's fans of the Carnarvon who can really make that thing sing, so to some extent this is a similar situation to the Carnarvon, where you're just spitting rounds down range, and in a support tank capability with some armor. That may be right up your alley. All right, that's all I've got, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We will see ya.